Many thanks for choosing us. A central bank, the Bank of Ghana, is well positioned to redeem the country from its current economic crisis without heading to the IMF for a bailout. That's according to an economist, Professor Charles Godfred Akka, when he featured on Newsfile on Saturday. Professor Godfred Akka believes with proper management and discipline, the central bank can pump in $1 trillion to redeem Ghana from the economic dilemma. He's confident the central bank's option will be far better than what the country risked in opting for a program for the Bretton Woods institution. But how is that possible? He explains on News Desk with my colleague Samuel Breeze.
I think I need to explain myself very well so that I'm not misunderstood. What Ghana faces now is a situation of lack of resources. We are facing a financial constraint. Okay, so typically when you're facing a financial constraint, it means what you need is resources. I want you to assume, for example, that Ghana is the only country on the planet. And if Ghana was the only country on the planet and there was no IMF and there's no US or Japan, and we have a closed economy, the only way you can get resources, cities to spend to build hospitals or schools and infrastructure and to create employment is for the central bank to finance that development. And the central bank is part of government. It is part of government and the only institution that is mandated to issue currency. You and I cannot do that. The central bank is not a household. It's not an individual that can run out of money. That kind of understanding is very wrong. The central bank can print money as much as is desirable and is optimal to run the economy. The budget, which is being run by the Minister of Finance, is a fiscal policy. And both the Minister of Finance and the central bank are responsible to develop this economy for us to get the aspirations of the shared prosperity and employment that we need. So typically, where there is no IMF, and where there's no US to give us money or international capital market, we will expect the government to expand through the help of the central bank. So the central bank would print money and the government has an account with the central bank. So the central bank will just debit the government account and the government will just issue checks to pay for infrastructure, to pay for hospital, and to pay for all that needs to be done. That's what is done in every country.
So what could be the possible implication on inflation and general expenditure? Professor Akka has been explaining that as well.
I want you to know, in economics, printing money does not cause inflation. Just like if the IMF comes and gives us $10 billion, it will not cause inflation. If the World Bank gives us free money, or when we had a HEPIC and they gave us money, it doesn't cause inflation. What causes inflation is spending, government spending. When there's velocity of money or the money stock is going too fast as regards the level of development and the level of goods and services that are in the economy. So basically, therefore, if the central bank gave the Bank of Ghana, say, an additional 1 trillion Ghana cedi, it will not cause inflation. What will not cause inflation is what would the government use it to do? If government use that on frivolous expenditure, they give it to put money in people's pocket, or politicians just share that money. And there are not enough goods, enough cars, enough iPhones, enough goods. Then it's a demand. Aggregate demand will outstrip aggregate supply. That's only when inflation comes. If that money is spent judiciously and is spent on capital expenditure, infrastructure, to build hospitals, to put railways from Takoradi to Elibu to Temele to Navrungu, and to create employment for the youth that are about almost 5 million youth, almost 30% of our youth are unemployed. That should not cause inflation. Every country did it. Just like Prof, in other countries where they did it. This
should be easy. Why do you think the central bank is not doing it? Can you understand why?
Because again, it's textbook economic theory. We all learned economics. The time has come for us to, I think, have a new conversation. Why is Africa so poor? Why are some of the things that the theories are asking us to do, they don't do it in other countries? Why are the central banks in Canada, in Japan, in Germany, in US, as I'm talking about US, they printed about 3 trillion during the COVID? Why do they do things that they ask us that we cannot do? And how long do you think that Africa will develop or Ghana will develop if it's IMF that's going to give us $900 million? If we are going to always go into the international capital market to borrow, what will be the role of the fiscal policy or the central bank? It's because we have believed that it is wrong, it's a crime for you to do deficit financing. Deficit financing is not wrong. Deficit financing is actually what's supposed to happen, but it has to be sensible. So I'm not advocating for a willy-nilly, carte blanche, kind of senseless printing of money for government to spend. No, I am saying that both the NDC and the NPP needs to begin to sit down to agree that our development challenge is massive and it cannot be done by outsiders. It has to be homegrown. It has to be self-reliant.
But what is the stake? What is at stake for Ghana in running to the IMF for a bailout, and what could be our chances to annexing a reliable program? Former Finance Minister Seth Sepe has been speaking on the AM show.
Well, the government is supposed to, when they arrive, that's the staff coming, supposed to give a position, because we invited them, as I said, like the homegrown, and say this is, what we want to do. In the absence of that, since these were agreed, then this is going to be the basis for the discussion.
Okay.
These were agreed with government. There was a staff visit in April.
Yes.
So if the government is not prepared and they haven't told us what they are, I went to Parliament to tell Ghanaians what we're going to put before the IMF. So this, what I am reading now, and I urge Ghanaians to read for themselves. It's now on the website, Article 4, 2021. Let your producers and then we can have a conversation and you see the revelations. So in the absence of our own program, these are going to be the basis. Are you going to put, in fact, they spoke about Bank of Ghana and expect that Bank of Ghana will go back to zero financing. Are we capable? We went to zero financing. Bank of Ghana financed half of the deficit in 2020. They never gave COVID as a reason. They said if they were, it's in the MPC report, again you can download it, that if they were not to give government support, government would have difficulty borrowing and interest rates will go up. The very thing that is happening now. That was the reason.
And so usually when the staff of the IMF arrive and their deliberations and engagements, are there changes made to the policy document?
Well, eventually, okay, so after the engagement, it will take line by line. It will take what they are saying on revenue, what is the expenditure position, because that is what is leading to the deficit on the fiscal side. So what measures do you have over the 3 years or so of the program, to bring it to manageable proportions so that it stops increasing, the debt, which is a major concern. And they go to the sector, energy sector. In fact, they spoke about energy sector. This document is very important. I urge Ghanaians to look at it. They'll talk about energy sector because the sectors, particularly the World Bank staff that are likely to come, they are interested in the sectors because they give budgets of support to all these sectors. And then they go to the monetary, led by the governor, and they will tell them all the things that they want to do, interest rate policy and all that, all those rates. And they have consultations with labor and other chamber of commerce and all those. Yeah, so it's a very broad base, Then they put all this together, and then so they'll then come with what they think needs to be done against the government position, right? And then you come to some form of compromise. And that is what goes into the Memorandum of Economic Policy and Economic and Financial Policy.
Some ministers of state, including Trade and Industry Minister Alan Sherman-Singh, are also attending a meeting in Accra. Missing is the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, explains the absence of the Finance Minister.
Simple as we have it in front of you. We'll have a few remarks from the Minister for Trade and Industry. The Minister of Finance really wanted to be here, but as you know, we are in trying times. Ghana becomes the 89th country to go to the IMF for support. We are not alone in that fight. So many other countries are there trying to fight the same fight, and it's a global crisis that requires a global. So he's in a conference to the central bank governor, who originally was also going to be here, but events of the week have taken them away. Notwithstanding, we are expecting one of the deputies here, so we can engage.
Let's do some security. There's been a sharp rise in incidents of terrorist attacks in the sub-region. Over 1,000 people have been killed as a result within 3 months. This was revealed by the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, at a senior regional level course on the prevention of violent extremism in West Africa. My colleague Samuel Mbura is attending that event. He joins us live with more. Samuel, what more came up at this program? All right, so we'll try and get Samuel Mbura to give us more from this stakeholder meeting on extremism, violent extremism. But we're hearing that there's a sharp rise in activities of terrorism. Samuel Mbura, if you're back, what more can you tell us from this program? Hello, Mbura.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, so what more can you tell us from the program that you're attending?
Well, the National Security Minister was not the only one who spoke at this program. As I indicated, it is a regional level course on the prevention of violent extremism for West Africa. So this has brought many actors across the sub-region to brainstorm on how to deal with the increasing cases of terrorism. So we have the former UN Special Representative of the Secretary General, UN Office of West Africa and Sahel, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Jambe, and he is raising concerns that the underlying root causes of extremism include poverty and underdevelopment, environmental degradation, corruption, marginalization, and weak state institutions. And these, he said, have triggered by international interference. He is also raising concerns that terrorism groups are executing a grand agenda to run and capture the power to run their strategies. Aside countries that have been already affected, littoral countries like Togo, Benin, Ghana have become the latest. And it says the implication is that a country in Africa is not immune from attacks. And that is why there's an urgent need for innovative strategies in nipping the bust of these terrorist groups. So he says the use of military action is not a secure guarantor of fighting terrorism. He is looking at developing the human security, where he's raised concerns about the concerns being raised about the marginalized in society, issues of economic hardship, issues of injustice, and other challenges related to governance. So the focus should not just be on the use of brute force, the military, and putting in security measures, but one of the weak links they have identified has to do with the fact that when the people are marginalized, they become agitated, and in the course of that, these terrorist or extremist groups are able to recruit more. So he is calling on African leaders to look at how they can put in place human security measures in dealing with the situation, other than just looking at the security strategies that they have implemented all this while.
Sami, who else has been speaking and what issues specifically?
Well, so we also had the ambassador of Switzerland to Ghana, in the person of Philip Stalder. He is raising concerns about the growing trend affecting the economic stability of these countries, and then calling on African leaders to ensure that they attend to the needs of their citizens. They should not focus on advancing the ideologies of government, but what the people call for is what they should address, and that the growing phenomenon of terrorism is spreading across Africa because of lack of political will in taking certain decisions to address the basic challenges that the people are facing. We also had the acting director of the African Center for Study and Research on Terrorism, in the person, Mr. Idris Lalali, also raising the same concerns of terrorism affecting the growth of Africa and asking for pragmatic measures to be put in place.
Samuel Mbura is our man on the ground for us. We'll bring you more on this in our subsequent bulletins. Now, workers in the educational sector have declared an indefinite nationwide strike over government's failure to pay them 20% cost of living allowance. Caller, let's cross over to my colleague Manuel Kranting, who is at an just ended press conference a while ago. Manuel, bring us up to speed on the details of this press conference.
Also, Aisha, according to the labor unions made up of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEU, the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, CCTGH, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAF, and the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAD. Government has been nonchalant towards their concern of actually paying them their cost of living allowance. They say that with the current, galloping prices of goods and services within the country, they deserve a cushioning from government, hence their demand for the cost of living allowance. But this particular demand has been growing for quite a while now, except they say government has not been responsive. A reason they gave government a June 30 ultimatum, and that ultimatum also elapsed just last week, and they've had no option but to call a nationwide strike, Aisha.
Manuel Kranting is our man on the ground for us. Definitely we'll be getting more on this. Now, the Hajj Board is attributing challenges plaguing this year's pilgrimage to the Holy Land of Mecca to oversubscription. This comes as some Muslim pilgrims have been left stranded and disappointed at the Hajj village. According to some of them, all their passports have been withheld by the Hajj Board, while some alleged their names have been intentionally removed from the final list of travelers. My colleague Michael Ashali visited the Hajj village and has filed this report.
Barakat Abdul Rahman is a mother of one. She is at the Hajj village in Accra with her husband and extended family. She is one of many hoping to make the journey to Mecca. This would have been her first time.
So one day I was there and he asked me whether I have yellow fever injection. I have COVID injection. I said yes. He said I should bring it to him. I said why? He said you just bring it because I'm taking it to Hajj. I was in my shop, so I just shouted Allahu Akbar. I was happy, and I went to his place and gave him the COVID test. They gave us the yellow fever people. I gave it to him.
Her hopes have been dashed.
They said they cannot find my passport, but I should wait. So I'm wait. If I want to go, if only there's a visa, I wanted to go. Nobody, hey, even if you are a cripple and they ask you to go to Hajj, you run. It's a holy land. Don't you want to go to Holy Land? I'm broken inside. I don't want to cry, but it's not easy. Telling all the neighbors you are traveling, see you coming back home with your bag. It's something, but alhamdulillah.
Her journey started as far back as 2019. Her family planned her trip to the holy city of Mecca as a surprise. Her brother, Ahmed Tijani Abdul Rahman Muhammad, was the mastermind.
So myself with the husband, in 2019, planned to give her a surprise. So by God's grace, we were able to raise the cedi's equivalent of 3,750 USD. That's in 2019. But due to the coronavirus, Hajj was cancelled worldwide.
According to him, the Hajj Board promised to prioritize the 2019 batch.
And we were told those who paid in 2019 are going to be among the first passengers who are going to leave to to Saudi Arabia. The holiness of the whole issue, probably the process is not as holy as the activity itself, because if you look at the promise that they made in 2019, they break their promise by saying they should add 7,000 Ghana cedis. That alone make the process unholy.
With diminished hope, he promises to take back his money.
You are in some kind of pain and they're still giving you hope. I'm seeing the hope to be a false hope. This time we're not going to leave the money with them. That's the first thing. And I told him when he's going to bargain to take our money from them, it should be cedi's equivalent of 3,750 USD plus the 7,200 that we gave him. So that's what we're going to take.
They are not alone. Abdul Razak Salifu paid to visit Mecca in 2020. Although with all the documentation intact, his name is not on the list of travelers.
Well, the Hajj Board has issued a statement in the last few hours. We've been joined by the Director of Communication at the Hajj Board, Alhaji Abdul Rahman Gomda. For more, I'm grateful for your time, Alhaj. I'm sure the Hajj Board gave you a quota. I mean, the Saudi board managing the Hajj gave you a quota. Why then did you allow for payments for more than the number that you can take? Hello, Alhaji Gomda.
Hello.
Yes, I'm saying that I'm sure the Saudi authority gave you a quota that it can take. Why then do you accept payment for more than a number that you can take?
There was an issue over the restricted window opened at Stanbic Bank where payments were made. By the time we realized the number had gone beyond what it could take, we had given an instruction that it be opened briefly. By the time we realized and closed it, it had gone beyond that.
What was the quota that was given to you, and how many people do you have in excess?
3,069 was the quota. 2 years ago, the quota was 6,000. Currently, we have a little over 100 who couldn't make it.
So how are they going to be able to access their money? If you listen to some of them, they say previously, when some of these things happened, they were not able to retrieve their monies.
That is not true. These monies would be refunded as soon as the leadership of the board returns from the Hajj. The Director of Finance is there, as are other officials of the board. As soon as they come, in fact, we have listened, we have heard about these concerns regarding money. As soon as the leadership returns, reconciliation will be made and the various receipts audited and refunds made.
But how come you didn't communicate to all these people before the time for boarding for the pilgrimage? You could realize that most of them had come to their place to just go on the pilgrimage before they were told that they would not be able to travel.
The necessary communication was made. Some of them didn't hear messages sent to them. In fact, we communicate through various channels. One of the most appropriate and effective being through their agents. We have these Hajj agents who deal directly with these pilgrims, besides those who make direct payments to the Hajj Board. The necessary messages were sent. There are those who didn't even hear word about whether they could go or not, yet they came. However, we do apologize for the inconveniences created so far. The Hajj operations for the past years under the current management has not sustained any such challenges as we have. And it was not intentional. The challenges are as a result of the restricted number of pilgrims, the quota given us one, and the shortness of the time for the preparation for the Hajj, just 1 month, as opposed to the previous 9 months or so we had to prepare adequately for the airlift.
Alhaji Gomda, I'm sure you are also concerned and definitely you are apologizing. Are there measures you're putting in place to ensure there's no recurrence?
Exactly. In fact, as soon as the leadership returns, of course, we'll look at what happened. Were they avoidable, and so on and so forth. I mean, there were issues over passports mixed up and so on and so forth. These are things we would really go into and find out whether there were some lapses at the administrative section of the Hajj Board which caused this, and so on and so forth. We'll really audit and ensure that there is no recurrence.
So when exactly are they getting their money? I mean, can you put some timelines?
As soon as the leadership returns, I mean, the monies are there.
And that is when?
Oh, when the Hajj will, the curtains will be drawn over the Hajj by around 12 or so of July, of this month. And they will be there for about maybe a few days, and then the return trip will commence. As soon as they come, we'll pay.
So that should be within this month?
Oh, yes, certainly.
I'm grateful for your time. Alhaji Gomda, he's the Communications Director of the Hajj Board. In the next 5 years, Accra is to become the cleanest city in Africa. That's according to the Regional Minister, Henry Quartey, as he deploys more than 800 men and women to act as task force to enforce the tenets of Operation Clean Your Frontage. The minister believes this move will bring us a step closer to making Accra work. He was speaking at the deployment center at Obra Sport.
Today, we are telling people in Accra that we have deployed you. All we need for people to know is not to sell on the streets. They should be off the streets. No unauthorized vehicles should be parked by the roadside in the CBD. You have to ensure that. And again, don't fight the people. As I said, you are about making history in Greater Accra. And let your names be part of those who will be mentioned in the next 5 years to come. I believe we can do that. Yes, sir. The morale was low. Can we do that? Yes, sir. And again, may I sound this caution right in the presence of the media. You are not soldiers. What did I say? Say, I am not a soldier. I am not a soldier. You are not police officers. Say, I am not a police officer. I am not a police officer. You are city response team. I am city response team. And so you cannot call yourself soldiers or police. Just be careful that you don't go beyond your boundaries.
National Chairperson candidate Stephen Ntim is our focus. Stay for more on this. He will be on the ballot for a record fifth time, this time as candidate number 5, pushing to hold the position of national chairperson of the NPP, which has eluded him on all previous occasions. Stephen Ntim believes this is his time. Here's a political desk report building up to our coverage of the NPP national officers election slated for July 15 to 17.
I'm entreating you to support me to win the election as well as to deliver on this promise of working closely and supporting our president.
This was Mr. Ntim's prayer to delegates in 2018. He was, however, rejected at the polls, losing to Freddie Blay. He will be number 5 on the ballot in what will be his 5th attempt to become national chairperson. Mr. Ntim describes himself as a loyal servant.
If we succeed in doing this by allowing the truth to prevail, by being genuinely truthful to ourselves, it will go a long way to motivate the younger generation to also work in the same selfless spirit for the party.
Currently serving as National Chairman of the Lands Commission, he comes to the race with over 20 years experience as a systems engineer. He is promising to unite the party.
I'm going to make sure that there is unity in all those affected constituencies, apart from those that are in court with the NDC and the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Ntim comes up against 7 others, but is seen by many as the front runner. Only time will tell.
That's live on JoyNews today. We'll return shortly with business.
It's now time to do business. I am Beverly Broom. Fruit juice manufacturing company Ekunfi Fruits and Juice Factory says it will in a few months begin exporting its product, Eku Juice, to the United States and United Kingdom markets. The company also says there are competing brands globally for the juice. The operations manager of the company, Frederick Kobina Akwa, spoke to JoyNews after a tour by the Member of Parliament for Ekunfi, Abeku Krensel. Here's more in the following report.
The Ekunfi Fruit and Juices Factory, a factory under government's One District, One Factory initiative, is currently targeting cultivating 12 acres of pineapple to enable them expand their markets. The operations manager of the company, Frederick Kobina Akwa, at a visit of the MP for Ekunfi, stated that the company was working very hard to satisfy the Ghanaian market and to also meet the expectations of the global market. He revealed some tests are being done. In a couple of months, the product will find its way into the global market space because of the interest that has been shown in the product.
What we do here is just squeezing our juice from pineapple, squeezing some from orange, squeezing our syrups from the ginger, and these are the products they produce themselves. And then we just squeeze and box it as you've seen here. There was a pallet I was showing the Honorable MP. Is leaving for the United States tonight, but not just the pallet. It is going for a certain test because Ekunfi Fruits and Juices Limited in the next few months will be exporting to the United States of America market. There are other interests from the European market and then the UK as well. There are some in China that we are working at, but we haven't finalized on that. But the earlier ones that I mentioned are on course.
Frederick Kobna indicated that they were excited about the current operational picture of the company. He further explained why the product may not be seen in most of the market areas in the country.
We produce every day, we sell every day. A classmate of mine, when she heard that I was involved with the Kunfi, said, "Oh, okay, we buy it every day." And just at that point, another classmate said, "Matipat mihuye," or something. Then she said, whenever he gets to the shop owner calls her husband, and then she comes to pick 5, 6. Then I say, "You are the cause." So now that's what's happening in the market. Because of the quality, people go to leave money with the distributors and with the bigger shops. And once the juice arrives, they are called to come and pick. So we will take a truckload of juices to a shop. The next day you go and it is not there. It's been taken by the patrons. We are working at that anyway. We are working, you see the acreage that we are clearing to grow pineapples. The ultimate plan is to get a juice all over the place.
The Member of Parliament for Ekunfi, Abeku Krentz, gave the management of the company thumbs up for the work they have done. He said he will push for more of government support for the company in order for it to expand its frontiers.
I'm more impressed. In fact, it was too much. We visited one farm today, and that is by Utom Road. But I know that very place. I know the company had a farm there, but I didn't know that it is such a big farm. Because when you are going, you see from the roadside, because it is in the hilly area, you cannot locate up to the end. By today, in fact, the company has done well. I will start interacting with the trade committee because we have gotten to a point of, pushing in more resource. And the resource, the only person who can give a lot of resource or guarantee is the government. So we talk to the trade committee. If possible, I will allow trade committee to also visit the place to see how best they will help the company to increase their production. And before increase the production, then it means you have to get a lot of raw materials. And the raw materials is where we stand now. They need to, increase the size of their farms.
Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kojo, Cape Coast.
Away from that, some 400 junior high school teachers in the Obuasi enclave have received specialized training meant to equip them employ modern ways to effectively execute the new curriculum of the Ghana Education Service. The initiative by the mining giant Anglo Gold Ashanti Ghana Obuasi Mine forms part of the mine's socio-economic management plan that holds education as an economic empowerment tool. Here's more in the following report.
The current pass rate of basic education certificate examination in the Obuasi enclave is 90%. Anglo Gold Ashanti, in its quest to improve the pass rate, has trained 400 teachers in Obuasi. The training program was designed to equip teachers with the differentiated learning approaches that would help them deliver on the new curriculum. Mavis Nanayache, a social development and gender superintendent, Anglo Gold Ashanti.
Are doing this to also improve the pass rate of BEC, because once the teachers are able to adapt new skills in teaching for the people to understand and also embrace the new curriculum content, then they'll be able to pass their exams. So basically, it's because we want to have a good pass rate. Currently, it sits at 90 in Obuasi. We want to take it to 96. So that is how come we are engaging and intervening with a lot of initiatives in education to improve the pass rate of BEC in Obuasi. So currently this training for this year, we targeted 400 teachers, and I am happy to mention that all 400 teachers participated.
Headmasters from various schools were also trained on best managerial practices. According to the District Director of Education of Obuasi East, the workshop will help teachers to be fully abreast with the new curriculum. Kwabna Owusu Nketia is the District Director of Education, Obuasi East.
Nobody can underrate the importance of training and retraining. So workshop, refresher courses in education sector is so much important to us. We need to improve to abreast ourselves of the modern trends in our sector. And therefore, AG is sponsoring such a wonderful workshop for the teachers to go through 4-day capacity building for teachers in Obuasi East and Obuasi Municipal Directorate. We are very grateful.
That's all for business now. We have more business coming up on Marketplace at 1 p.m. But up next is sports.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews today. Now, in an effort to rekindle the love of African tales in modern society, the book Voices That Sing Behind the Veil has been launched. The book is said to be a collection of stories from Africa and other parts of the world that strives to draw attention to important sociocultural concerns that aren't acknowledged enough.
Gone are the days when people had to gather under the moonlight and around firesides to listen to African folklore. With the advent of books, it is easier to get access to such works of literature. However, finding a cohesive compilation of tales from Africa and other parts of the world is uncommon. Bridging this gap is the book titled Voices That Sing Behind the Veil, an anthology of short stories from Africa and the diaspora.
With writers coming from all over Africa, there's a surety that these stories will go around the whole continent. You know, it's been launched in Ghana, it has been launched in Nigeria, it will be launched in other African countries. You know, so it's just a way of spreading our stories around Africa.
The book is a blend of African history and contemporary lifestyles around the world. Editor of the book, Ivor Ajamandria, speaking on the sidelines of the book launch, believes the carefully selected stories will bring to light important concerns in the modern society that aren't given enough attention.
I'm sure you'll find some of the things that will bother you on a day-to-day basis in some of these stories. Talking of Mary Sean's mental health story, and she was very eloquent about it, about how we take things for granted. And there are others about love, which we all indulge in at one level or the other. There are a story of challenges in terms of cultural deviations of what is in the global setting and the dynamics that this will bring in what we so-called modern society.
One of the book's author is Dr. Mary Ishen. She recounts some of her exciting moments while working on her story about mental health.
I have a short story that is part of the anthology. So it's a story about mental health, and it's about this young man who everyone, thought was happy. And he ended up committing suicide and surprised everybody because in everyone's minds, he wasn't somebody who was supposed to kill himself. He had everything. I just submitted my story and it was accepted, and then I was told it was part of the anthology, so I'm yet to read.
We chanced on Grace Jeanette Mason, South African High Commissioner to Ghana.
As you look at the contents of the anthology, there are a number of South African writers that have made their contributions and their short stories here in the book. I've read a few of them. And just to say that as Africans, as we begin to define our common destiny, that our history, our culture is so inextricably linked, and we need to begin to have voices, begin to tell our stories.
Another book lover, veteran actress Edina Matachi, on her part explains her excitement about the book.
It's been a wonderful evening. I've been to one in a long while, and I love the stories as well. I could identify with some of them, and some of them I can't wait to perform them, actually, either on stage or in a movie.
Next time you think about getting another interesting book to read, Voices That Sing Behind the Veil should be on that list.
On that note, we end Showbiz here on Joy News today. My name is Becky. The small Showbiz News in our subsequent bulletins. Good afternoon to you, Aisha.
Voices That Sing
Behind the Veil.
Yeah. I look for that book. That's how we wrap up the bulletin this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You get more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.